Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to quickly discuss my thoughts on Bitcoin and the crypto market. Before I get into it, just want to say apologies for the quality of this video and the audio. I had to make an emergency trip back home to Australia and I don't have all of my equipment with me, but a few people have been asking me about my thoughts since the price dropped last week, and I wanted to just put this video out really quickly for you. So I'm going to go to the chart now. I'm going to lose my face, but you guys know I'm here. If you are new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Be sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe. You guys know what to do. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at what is going on with Bitcoin. Okay, so I'm starting on the 1 hour time frame. This was a chart that I had marked out for our Discord community on the weekend when I do my Sunday updates for them. And this is basically how the pattern has played out so far over the last couple of weeks. Week prior to last, we had the W formation that led to our 3-level rises. And then what actually happened here at the beginning of last week was what we call a final damage M formation. And they're not common and they're hard to pick, but essentially what it means is that the second peak of the M, which is right here, is higher than the first peak. And the reason that that happens is because when they make this final fast move here that creates the first side, after that happens, they're reassessing how many people have been trapped. And if they feel like they haven't trapped enough, they'll spike it up that little bit higher to induce more long positions, but also liquidate any short positions that went short right here before they then actually drop the price. So I don't normally trade final damage M on W formations because they're kind of hard to pick. It's almost like just picking the bottom, but the best way to get the entry on these is to let it fall away first, and then when it retests at 50 EMA, you can see here there were heaps of chances here that you could then open a short position as the change in trend was now confirmed. So that led to our 3-level drops through here. They came at volume spikes. You can see there's a volume spike here, here, and here, which caused the bottom, and that bottom from last week has created the current low of the week, and that was our reversal signal there. Now, taking an entry on that is risky because, as I said, the trend hasn't changed yet. So when we identify that, what we're looking for to happen next is a W formation. And, this here has the potential to be a W formation. And, if you're following the model, that's probably where you would take a chance on a long position, but it's really hanging on by a thread right now. Like, I'm not saying don't take a long position. Like, the rules are there, it meets the rules of a W formation, but it's simply not going anywhere. And we are now halfway through the UK session. So let's talk about this W and why, I'm not satisfied yet, but it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? So we have the spike down, we have the trapped traders here, we have the inside left side created, and on the inside right side, we can see the market maker show up 3 times. Now these, so far, all of this meets the condition of a W formation. Actually, Janet, who does videos on this channel, she did a really good video explaining the perfect M and W formation. So I'll link it up the top here if you haven't seen it and you want to check it out. But so far, this actually is up to this point. So there is more, for me to say, just bear with me. But the market maker has shown up 1, 2, 3 times here. We've got a hammer as the second peak. Up until that point, everything meets the criteria because that hammer is a higher low in comparison to this. And it's now a W at the low of the week. That is the most perfect place that you can find a W. So everything up to that point is delicious and great. But here's the problem that I have. We're now 2 sessions into the day, right? So Asia has completed here and we're currently in the UK session. So I'm going to go down to the 15-minute time frame just so we can see both of these sessions in more detail. And so this part here is what we're dealing with today, right? So this spike down here is the second peak of that W that I showed you. And that's created our initial low of today, which is at 93,655. Then naturally, we went up to create our initial high of the day, which is Asia's job to do that and, tick the boxes. We did what we're meant to do. 96,488 is today's initial high of the day. After that, we look for the trend change. So we do have a higher low. Fantastic. Okay. Again, up until this point, that is good for us to believe that we're bullish. Now, here comes the problem. This here has created a double top. This is a new session now, right? So down here, we moved into the UK session. After Asia completes and we move into UK, a trend should be formed, a slow trend. So we do technically have a slow trend. You can see here, this is UK, and we've slowly trended to the upside. Fantastic. But usually we want UK to break either the initial high of the day or the initial low of the day. And at this point in time, it hasn't broken either of them. So there could be a couple of things that are going to happen from here. Either we fail to break it by the end of UK. Now, I will say, just a reminder, that the end of UK, which is these three turquoise bars that you can see here. So that's the last hour of the UK, which I believe is 8 a.m. New York. That's when we expect what we call the UK burst. So it might just be that at the time of filming this, I'm just a little bit too early, and the UK burst might break the initial high of the day to the upside. If it does that, great. I think that is great, and we'll start to move up from there. Hopefully US will then continue the trend to the upside, and we will see that 1 hour time frame W actually complete and the rest of it confirm. However, at this point in time, because we now have a double top at the initial high of the day, we have to be very, very prepared for further downside. And I'm going to get rid of this because we'll check the heat maps in a second. But because there's that double top right there, yeah, we have to be equally prepared for further downside. So how do you play this? If you are someone who has opened a long because you see this whole structure as a W formation, right now you're in it, and that's fine. Your trade at this point in time is not invalidated, but you will be looking towards the last hour of the UK and around the US Open to make sure somewhere in that time we do break the initial high of the day. If we don't, that's a worry to me. And, I would suggest potentially moving stop losses to break even. At least, like if you want to let this run, like let's just say, for example, your long position is somewhere here and currently your stop loss is under the first peak. Don't worry about the targets, irrelevant for now. If we get towards the end of the UK or we start US and we haven't yet broken the initial high of the day, you might want to move that stop loss up to your entry, just so that way, because of this double top, if it does swing back, then at least you're out at break even. It's not too much damage. But if it continues and we do break the initial high of the day, well, you're risk free now anyway, and there's no harm in having moved your stop loss. I just think we're in a very, very tricky situation right now. And because of that double top right there just isn't a guarantee that the rest of the W is going to form, because that W center peak, I'll go back to the 1 hour, that W center peak is here, okay? So in order for this W to actually confirm, we need the price from where it is now at 95,930 to move up to 99 just to get back to the center peak, which is also the 200 EMA. And then ideally we like it to break it, but because the 200 EMA is there, it's kind of okay. If it went up somewhere around that region, we would then need it to come back and create a higher low. And it's only on that higher low that the whole W formation here gets confirmed. So if you're already in a long position because of the second peak of the W, you've taken a very aggressive entry, which is fine if that suits your trading style, but your trade's not going to be confirmed until all of this work is done. And so that's why I'm saying just be cautious of that 15-minute time frame double top currently, and know that like this could end up being a W that doesn't play out if we cannot break that initial high of the day sometime at the end of UK into the US session. Well, now when we look at the liquidity that's available, this supports our idea that there might be some sort of a short-term recovery. Whether it's a short-term recovery or the trend is just going to continue and we're bullish and we just don't know it yet, that remains to be seen. But what we can see from this and what we can focus on for now is that there is a lot of liquidity above the current price. There isn't a whole lot below price. However, that doesn't mean that they won't come for this first, because there are some significant levels below price. So again, that's why the double top is significant right now. We just have to be aware of it. It could even end up, because this level here is actually lower than this first peak, it could end up, for all we know, that on the 1 hour time frame, we actually do end up with a final damage W that comes down like this, similar or opposite to this. Similar but opposite, you know what I mean? Because that liquidity is below, because we haven't shifted out with speed yet, because we have the 15-minute double top, it's just there's just too many cautions right now. And so that's why I just think, worst case scenario, like I said, if you're in a long position, it's not invalidated. If you want to get into a long position, I'd probably wait to see end of UK, US price action before entering my long position. And if you were to get that extension and then you get into your long position, your stop loss would only need to be under this by that time. Currently, if you're already long, it needs to be under this. So it's a little bit of a different situation depending on whether you're already in a long or you are looking for a long, or if you want to be bearish because you think this is coming down further. I mean, that's fair enough too. The double top could potentially be a signal of that, and that would mean potentially a reset. So we've had our 3 level drops, we're consolidating. You would look for bearish signs on the 15-minute time frame, and when you found it, you would open a short position. What would a bearish sign be? It would be from this double top that we're seeing right now, that we break down towards the end of UK. So the extension is to the downside, and then US gives a lower high. That's where you would take a short position if you really wanted to take a short position. I'm not shorting the bull market, so not for me. I'm just telling you what the conditions would be. But the other thing I want to say about this is, if this W formation does play out, that doesn't mean that we are bullish again and like higher time frame we're going up. No kind of worries. There's a lot of things that we would need to sort of tick off the list before we can say, yeah, okay, we're all good and we're going to break out to all-time high. It might just be a little bit too soon for that. It could be that W on the lower time frames that we're seeing is just going to attempt to make a short-term recovery. So say it moves up something like this to any of these vectors, maybe here, and then we may see further downside from there, So just know that the analysis is all relative to the time frame. If we're identifying a W formation on the 1 hour or the 15-minute time frame, it can be just a very short-term move to the upside that ends up creating a higher time frame, lower high. Like, let's just say we get 3 levels like this, and that's where the 3rd level ends. That's still a lower high on the 4-hour time frame that could end up creating a 4-hour M formation, something like this. Now that would take a few days to play out, but for a longer term analysis, we're still at risk of further downside until this move here, this attempted recovery, starts to change higher time frame structure. So just know that as well, that if you're taking W formation long positions on lower time frames, your targets are going to be a lot smaller, and you can always take them up whilst they are creating the higher time frame M formation. And then if we remain bearish, that's where you can flip to a higher time frame short position. So let's see if the heat maps give us a hint of anything kind of going on. We do have some people wanting to buy the dip at 90K, but there's pretty significant orders down here at 82,600. And not to scare anyone, but there are more significant orders at 73,300. Now, again, if you're watching me for the first time, don't freak out about those numbers. I'm just telling you what's there. That doesn't mean I think we're going there. We always focus on the one closest to price first. So if we do get bearish confirmation, the first level that we're going to be keeping an eye out for is 90,000. And if we don't get a strong bounce there, that's when we start considering the lower numbers that I spoke about. To the upside, so this is where the shorts are waiting. We have we have shorts at the even 100K. That is to be expected, and that would probably create the spike above the 1 hour 200 EMA. So if the price did actually move up here to the 100K region, we would still have a possibility that this might happen next. And so that would mean that those short orders are just acting as resistance right now, and it'll kind of would actually be fairly positive for a potential W because they're not massive orders. So keep that in mind. And if we break above that, then the next ones are at 102,000. And if we break above that, the most significant orders are actually at 106,500. Now, I can see just by looking at this that is lower than this peak here. So again, could be that we have a short time frame recovery and that leads to a higher time frame lower high. And if that does, it means longer term, like over the next couple of weeks, we are still bearish, but very, very short term, we would be bullish on the recovery. Again, all of that is pending that 15-minute double top actually breaking. towards the end of UK and in the US session. Okay guys, I'm going to leave it there. Really quick one. Sorry to kind of shoot off on you, but if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed, leave comments down below to let the YouTube algorithm know that real people watch this channel and real people enjoy this content. And I will be back after Christmas. Have an amazing Christmas.